one side at a time, you can do both sides at a time. You talk to big areas of the fascia, and you can get specific with the fascia. Why don't we get general and start with snow angels first. I'm going to assess the tissue. Let me know if anything's uncomfortable. Pecs, of course, are big triangular muscles coming in on a wide swooping fan of a triangle. So as you do this, you'll want to get all those different angles of what they can do. That is impossible not to MFR. Stop. I mean pin and stretch, thanks. So assess just enough to see where it's tightest for where you're going to have the biggest effect instead of randomly pinning. Similar to the lats in the sense that you want to actually grab the tissue and stretch it inferiorly instead of just pressing down into their chest. You want it into their chest just enough to get to the right depth, and then press inferiorly to grab the tissue in a counter pressure. Alright, Michelle, what I'm going to have you do is abduct your arms and take them up as far as is comfortable for you. Stop if there's any numbness or tingling.
Oh.
Need a wall against this table. Lost the table. Wow, that did a lot. Totally released where that was. One thing that you might have noticed as she went up was you're changing your angle. So you're not pushing on the same angle the whole time, but as your client comes up, you're resisting whatever force it's pulling at. So sometimes you'll be pushing more in this direction, and then as it comes up, you'll be angling with it and directing your pressure against the resistance the whole way. Sometimes as they get in the middle of it, you'll be at a tough position where you have to get lower. Sometimes you'll have to just start over at the beginning and use a different tool. I was losing my knuckles on part of it. You can see it was pretty good all the way out to the shoulders. There's a lot tied in with the deltoids on her and this border between pecs and deltoid, which will be really good for specific pin and stretches. I think for snow angels it usually works better for the bigger part of the pecs, and you can use a soft fist or your hands. Watch, of course, when you're this part of the neck, so watch where your fingers are positioned and where you're standing. You can even use the ulnar border to make like a wall to hold the tissue. See if the client is comfortable with where your thumbs are at. You can just look at their body language and their breathing. Try to get your thumbs out of the way. Really make sure you take that tissue inferiorly and not just push it into the chest, into the rib cage. Got a big part of the fascia now. And go ahead and abduct. Pressure. Intensity. I'm having to use different parts of my hand to hold it. I'm using the heels more now. and then reassess. And there's some nice tightness here. You can take the arm up on different angles and you can stand in different places. Anything you do across the client, though, be aware of how close your arm is to their face and their throat. But sometimes the position of however tall you are, and sometimes it can be okay to stand across the client. Just be aware how close you're getting to their face and their neck. A lot of the adhesions are getting really the junction between the deltoids and pecs. So I can do some of my more specific grabbing the pattern. Pin and stretch is one of my favorite things because you can get so much done so quickly. Alright, she's got a wrist that dislocates easily, so when you move her arm around, you want to be careful not to grab at the wrist or right below the wrist, not pulling and tweaking her whole arm. You can pull above the wrist and you can support the whole arm. If you support the whole arm, then it's not going to pull her wrist out. So I'm going to get below her wrist, or proximal to her wrist. I'm going to start in a shortened position, which is sometimes just down, and actually a cross can be really nice. I got to make sure I'm not going to get on her wrist funny. And I had to take a look every once in a while where the rest of my body is compared to her face.
So you're going to do more of an external rotation versus an AV, or are you going to...
I'm going to see where it goes, but yeah, I'm going to check out both. So I got a very tight spot that I'm not going to twang.
Play guitar with it.
Let's tune it. Alright, so I want to get a straight thumb, body weight, not pincer grasp so I don't hurt myself. And then I'm going to play with what direction does it want to go into stretch. Definitely some lengthening. Oh, that's a really good spot. I'm going to have to stand somewhere else because it really wants to get longer that way. And I'm not very long that way. Alright, and some people you'd be able to pull that up and over. For her I need to pull it out more, so I'm going to stand this direction. Let's see if I can get specific enough with the pattern with a soft fist, or if I need to use a thumb or a knuckle. It's a pretty good tight band, about so big. So whatever tool I choose, I want to get big enough to hold it down. Intensity?
7.
So this one is getting really into deltoids too. Delts, pecs are very much connected. If you want to stick to just peltoids, see, they're so connected I can't even separate them. If you want to stick to just pecs, you don't have to cross over, but this was the biggest part of the pattern. And it's a very similar pin and stretch. You're just going to follow what actually feels the stretchiest between your hands. Sometimes that's going to be more abduction. Here we're even getting more of a extension of the arm is getting a lot of it. And then we're going to see, now that that part's stretched, if taking it up and over does a lot. Taking it on different angles, See what that does for it. Rotating it doesn't seem to do as much.
Woo.
How's that?
Mm-hmm.
And to show you a little bit more common angle that you're going to take things on a lot is starting with their arm closer to their body and then bringing their arm out. And that cross isn't working for me. That's a really good part of the pattern.
Whoa. 7, but it's just intense.
Reassess. Talk to the pecs. Unilaterally, bilaterally. So the edge that you grab to get under for pec minor, sometimes that's where you're going to feel the biggest adhesions, and that'll give you the best pin. So I'm going to grab that lateral border, feel where it's restricted. Sometimes you can even make your support hand like way up like this. And got the free border. And now we're going to take the free border and lengthen it where it's tight. Intensity.
7.
The advantage of this is you can really support the arm well in the movements. And sometimes you'll want to take it all the way up. And you can ease out, or you can work restrictions. And reassess. Wow. You can see the difference between this side and this side. It's not much work.